Good morning, everybody. Or good afternoon, everybody. I keep saying good morning. Good afternoon, everybody, on this beautiful Saturday, this beautiful weekend. Overcast cast skies, but with some little bit of sun coming through on my side of the world here in Switzerland. Anyway, I'm coming to you today, and I want to discuss with you about a subject that I constantly, it's been a tough subject to explain to clients over years, and that is sleeping bags. Why is it difficult? Because you basically have to pull teeth to get information out of somebody sometimes. And sleeping bag companies traditionally in the past have not made it very easy on you. Now they're more of a standard behind sleeping bags now. There's ISO standards, this kind of stuff. And so a lot of companies are following that. They're following it for several reasons. Number one is to help the clients make a decision, but all in the users, but also to help so the industry becomes a little bit more level playing field, or companies come up with better bags and stuff. There are lots of questions about sleep bags, everything from the types of sleeping bags in reference to form, what's inside of them, what they're made out of, what temperature ratings they are, which is the biggest question, their weight, and what's best for different types of camping and hiking and this kind of stuff. So, and we have so many different types of camping that goes on. I mean, when I grew up, I didn't have a sleeping bag, but I'm from Louisiana, so we didn't necessarily need one. But I did have some wool blankets my dad came up with for us, and we used to take those out and just basically lay one on the ground and put one on top of you, or just curl up and inside one like a little taco and sleep like that. And that's a lot of what we did. Didn't even have sleeping mats at that time. Maybe we'd gotten them a little later on, but at that time we didn't. So we just basically slept right on the ground in the summertime, and it was nice because the ground was a little bit cooler and the air was usually very warm, lots of mosquitoes, this kind of stuff. So it wasn't such a bad idea, I know for family campouts, we would do a little bit more, and we would bring those blankets but we would get some foam mattresses, this kind of stuff. And I remember we went to Arkansas for first time I've ever seen mountains in my life. I think I was 15, and we drove to Arkansas. The whole family did. It was a caravan of vehicles, had friends, family, the whole thing, and we went to Lake Washita, and we camped out just next to the lake. My parents had a camping car, like these foldable camping cars that would fold out and you could sleep a bunch of people inside of it. And I think my sister slept in there with my parents, and then us boys basically had to do it our own. And I had a folding cot that I put out with mosquito net and between two trees, and I laid I slept on top of that with I think I had a poncho liner, maybe. If not, I had just a blanket. So, and that was good enough because it was quite warm. It wasn't cold weather, and I don't think we got any rain the whole time we were there. But anyway, that's just an example. Later on, of course, it became a completely different ballgame with me when it came to sleeping bags and when it came to camping out, because we didn't call it camping anymore. We called it, I think the Army called it bivouacking or doing exercises kind of stuff, and wasn't as much sleeping involved at that time, and comfort level wasn't there. Wasn't a high level comfort. But anyway, so I want to discuss this with you today. Just sleeping bags and best practices with sleeping bags. And there are lots of different types of sleeping bags. You have these rectangular ones that have the zipper on it. You have these they're more almost mummy shaped, but they have a square box at the bottom. Also zip around it. Also, you have the mummy bags, which a lot of people tend to go to for comfort and warmth and weight. And then you have these double, they're more like a duvet, And then, of course, you have poncho liners, and you actually have duvet-style sleeping bags now, which a lot of extreme lightweight people use also. And what they'll have, they're more of a, where the center zip would be on it, you don't have that zipper there. You have it's more like elastic system. You have a box place to put your feet in, and then you lay it on top of you, and it's more like a comforter, but it doesn't move around because you have your feet in it. So your feet stay nice and toasty and warm. You stay warm, but you have this, it's a little bit better. I actually, in the summertime, tend to sleep with even my zippered bag like this. I'll sleep inside of it, upside down, where I have it over me like a duvet, but I can slip my feet in it, so that's quite often how I use a sleeping bag. And it's a very comfortable way of sleeping with a sleeping bag also, directly on your mattress or on your or whatever you're using. But yeah, so those some of the forms of sleeping bags. Then you have also materials. You have all cotton sleeping bags. There are some with and they have quite often they have synthetic liners in them. You also have them with down inside of them also. I've seen them with just wool. You have wool bags also. I've seen people who have wool bags. They use this kind of stuff. So there are lots of different materials, but what you see quite often are synthetic, and you see down in the higher quality sleeping bags, and then and they are going to be the down's primarily for it's a lighter weight material, so a lot of people tend to go to down. It compacts much more, and it's much more lighter weight material. But the problem with that is that, like, for where I live here in Central Europe, it's too humid for a down bag, so we don't have the dry air to really support. So you tend to sweat in it, and the more you sweat in it, the more humidity you have inside of it, the less you have in reference to this temperature rating, and that's what we're going to talk about here in a minute. So it's important to look at where you're going to go to use your sleeping bag. How are you going to get there? Are you going to drive in? So then weight is not as big of a factor, and comfort is. Or are you going to hike in? And how many days of hiking is it going to take to get into where you want to go, or to do whatever you're going to do? Are you hunting? There are a lot of other factors that are involved. I don't do so much hunting. Matter of fact, I haven't done any hunting in a long time. And although I do drive-in camping quite often when I'm with my kids or something like that, I don't do it so much on my personally, because I prefer to hike in. I'll do several days of hiking, this kind of stuff, and I'll carry it on my back, or I'll go in for an overnight. And as an overnight, you might go in a little bit heavier than you would if you're lightweight hiking, this kind of stuff, or bushcrafting. And when I'm doing more bushcrafting stuff, I tend to do a little bit more primitive type of stuff, But because of my size, I have had to step away from a lot of sleeping bag companies because they don't make big enough bags. Now, they do make extensions to them, but these are more zippers and more stuff. And I know Snug Pack is one of them that makes extensions. Corinthia makes extensions, and these are just a couple of European companies that I've dealt with. I myself used the ECWC, the Extreme Cold Weather Sleeping Bag from the U.S. Army. The 4-bag system. Basically, it's a more of a summer tropical bag, which is I think it's a rating of plus 10 degrees Fahrenheit. No, it's a 30 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 0 degrees Celsius. And then it also comes with the black bag, which is I think it is a minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit. And then the two together, then it had the Gore-Tex extra the Gore-Tex cover that comes with the bivy bag comes with it, and then you have a stuff bag comes with it. So although I don't have that stuff bag anymore, I never really liked it that much, because I very rarely carry both bags with me, because it just doesn't get as cold. I mean, I have used both bags, and they work fantastic, by the way. But I tend to use one or the other. Summertime I'll use the green one or a poncho liner, depends on temperature, and in the wintertime I'll use that black one, and with the green with it maybe. But I hardly ever use just the Gore-Tex cover with them anymore because it's just too humid here. So I'll tend to. I might be sleeping inside of a tent where it holds on to the heat a lot more, or I'll sleep under a tarp or something like that. But anyway, that's the bag system that I use myself, and the reason why I use it because it's quite a large cut. I'm very comfortable in it. I like to move around. I move around a whole lot, so for me, it's a nice bag to sleep with. I've slept with my. I've used Corinthia. I love Corinthia, but the problem is because of my shoulder size, my chest size, and everything. The problem I have with it is that it's too tight on my body, and because it's so tight, I have a lot of cold spots in the wintertime in it, so I don't necessarily use it so much. And I have a Defense 4, I have a Troopin, and I have their tropical bag also, which is I get it over there on the ground somewhere. And then I have this right here is a Yeah, this is a Defense 1, actually, I think. Yeah, this is a Defense 1 right here from Corinthia. So I have several Corinthia bags, actually, and I also have poncho liners and that I use also. But let's look at the what I want to talk to you also about is if you're going to go on lightweight hiking, people tend to use synthetic bags or down bags, and here I tend to use more synthetic, and the reason that is because because of humidity, but also they don't lose that temperature rating as you perspire, and it's so bad as the down would. And the downs are also very expensive. I mean, now if I were going into a much further north in Europe or north United States, to these very dry areas, of course I'd bring a down bag with me because that's one of the best ways to go. And a technique that Corinthia didn't come up with it, but Corinthia definitely, they made a deal. They sold a lot of sleeping bags to the Indian Army, and these are to be used up in the Himalayas. And what they did, they came up with a system called, it was an extreme cold weather system, actually. And this was a minus 55 degree Celsius rated system. And what it was also a 3-bag system. It came with a Gore-Tex bag on the outside, and then it came with a down bag, and it came with a synthetic bag. And what they would do is they'd put that the synthetic bag, they put a down bag inside the synthetic bags, and then the Gore-Tex on the outside of it. So as the user used it, they would sweat. It would be condensation, and then the inside the down bag, but the synthetic bag would pull that out, and then pull it out to different levels. And if you ever wore, for example, you've done some kind of activity and you've worn a Gore-Tex jacket and you've worn some layers underneath of it, which is what you should do if it's cold, wear layering, you'll see that you can actually gather on the inside the shell in extreme cold weather situations. You'll see a frozen level of condensation on the inside the shell. Well, that's because it's pulling out that humidity from the different layers to the inside, so it keeps you warm. That's why it's not good to wear cotton or cotton underwear, t-shirts, or socks, because it's not allowing the layering system to do its job to pull the humidity away from your body. It's sort of trapping that humidity against your body, so you're going to be cold, you're going to be uncomfortable, you're going to have chafing, you're going to have these problems. So to elude to all of that, remember, cotton kills. So don't wear cotton underwear. If you're gonna wear underwear, wear something synthetic or wool. Same with t-shirts, synthetic or wool. And also depends on what activity you're gonna be doing too. I tend to wear a lot of more synthetic t-shirts than wool. I'm not too keen on the wool t-shirts, even the merino. I find them very expensive, but I also find them very, very heavy and droopy. So I'll wear a synthetic one, but then I'll throw a wool or something on the outside of that, and it helps pull away that condensation. So that's, and then even in extreme wintertime, if I'm moving, I may wear just a synthetic shirt, and you can see pictures of me on my page here, and I'll have a red wool shirt on the outside of it, and that pulls that condensation away from it. So I'll do all my activities like that. When I'm stopped, I can throw something over it if I feel like I'm getting cold, but then usually I don't. I usually feel quite comfortable with just that. That wool does its job. And this is a good tight woven shirt, a jack shirt actually, that I use. But let's get back to sleeping bags. Keep getting off the subject here. Okay, so of course, like I said, you have mummy, you have rectangular, you have duvet type sleeping bags, and then you have a box toes. You have different types of different things. Now in sleeping bags, one thing, let's talk about and we talked about the materials, the cottons, the synthetics. And one good synthetic, actually, Corinthia is a very, very good sling bag, and they're worth every cent that they have. And they have a material called G-Loft. And something a lot of people don't realize, that a lot of companies don't make the material that goes inside their bags. And so they buy it, and to get it to them, it can't be sent to them they're trying to save as much money as possible. So they don't send the material to them in its lofty form. So it's usually quite compressed. And with down, what they'll do is they'll compress it, and they'll pull all the oxygen out of these big compressed boxes, or bags. So it comes in like a small bag, but inside of it's like a whole room full of down. Well, this does affect it a bit. Okay, I don't care what they tell you, this does affect it. You compress anything for a long period of time, it's going to have an effect on it. And that even gets back to storage, how you store your sleeping bag. And G-Loft. One thing I liked about G-Loft with Corinthia is that Corinthia actually makes it itself. They don't have to transport it anywhere. And this is what I've been told, okay, by Corinthia when it comes to this. But what they do, a lot of these materials, they're produced somewhere else. This hollow fiber material, this lofty synthetic material, and what it does, they put it in they sort of like put it in like to transport it. They don't transport it in a lofty form. They actually put it into like a glue. They compress it. It's not really a glue, but it's something that works like a glue. It's compressed into sheets, into boards, the same you would find in a particle board, and then it's all cut, stacked up inside of these containers, and it's shipped like that. So companies get it, and then they have to use like a material, a process that deactivates this glue that allows it. Then they have to do everything to loft it back up again. Well, G Loft is a product of Corinthia, so they don't have to do this. And there are some companies that don't do this, but they produce their own. Okay, a lot of companies purchase it and then they use it in their system. Well, the advantage of this is that it's never compressed and it's never put through this chemical baths, this kind of stuff. So you're getting the true hollow fiber form of it. Okay, and then this is weighed out and it's inside. It's either it's inside the sleeping bag. Okay, now what you see a lot of times, if you see a sleeping bag that doesn't have any baffling in it, the problem with that is that and what baffling is that they cut they're sewing either squares or circles or tubes, whatever, or they're gluing them. Now they're gluing them. You see in jackets, you see like this gluing technique. Wherever that seam is at, there's very little insulation there, or none actually. So you're getting like a tube with insulation, and you're getting these tubes of insulation, and some of them they may do that, and they'll cross them. So they're crossed. So it's a much better protection. But this is for extreme cold weather bags. They're going to be huge bags, very lofty and quite heavy. If you're getting it in the sheet form, of course, if they're putting it in some kind of sheet form, then it's going to stay into the form of the sheet. But of course, that falls into the category where it's less lofty. It's been prepared, it's been processed, it's been treated. So there's always that question: how you deal with the baffling, how you deal with the lofting. Of course, the baffling is not the best idea, but it's better than just this sheet, because you're going to lose also. Now, like I said, if they baffle it and then they put it together where it's cross baffling, then you're going to be better protected. Okay, you may not see that baffling, okay, or the baffling may be larger. Okay, and if they have more loft to the inside, then it's actually a little better also. But you have to look into that and see. Look into the bag and look at the baffling. Some of them have a lot of baffling. You see these jackets with these very small baffling. You know, these down jackets. Those jackets are very cold compared to a jacket that doesn't have all that baffling in it. So just be careful of that and be aware of it. Okay. That's something you got to be aware of when it comes to any sling bag, whether it's down or if it's like a G-Law. But anyway, Corinthia, they make their bags, and their bags are baffled, but they're not baffled on the outside. They're more on the inside. Okay, so it's another piece of material on top. It's very lightweight, a bit water resistant also, and very lightweight bags actually, and very, very comfortable. Now. Let's go into the temperature range for the sling bags. A lot of people, when they talk about sling bags, they sort of, first thing people ask me and says, well, I'm looking for something cheap. I said, well, I mean, there are $10, $25 sling bags out there, but they're made out of cotton. They are just heavy. Their temperature levels are very, very low. You know, I remember my wife and I, we went hiking, camping one time, and I carried the tent, I carried her sling bag and my sling bag, and her sling bag, my sling bag probably weighed the same, but hers was like this one that she loved. She didn't want to buy another one. We really couldn't afford to buy a bunch of sling bags either, but I brought my military bag with me. Actually, what I brought was my Cat's Meow from North Face. It was a summer bag, and it did really well. And it was actually a better temperature rating than her cotton bag that she had. And so we ended up having to double up a bit when it came to sleeping, because she could stay warm. But when you look at the table for, and you look inside the sling bag, and a lot of them have it nowadays. Not all of them do. Like the military bags, they don't. You'll have to look inside of it, read through all the directions. You'll see it'll explain to you the temperature ratings in it, and they're in Fahrenheit if it's U.S. Which is a shame because Celsius is much easier for me to understand because 0 is freezing, where 32 degrees Fahrenheit is freezing on that scale. And it just makes much more sense to Celsius does, and so does the metric system for me. Okay. But what you'll see is they'll be written out as comfort level, the very bottom, and then you'll get a temperature rating for limit or transition level, and then you'll get the extreme. Okay. Now, let's say the limit is 0 degrees. 0 degrees Celsius, okay, or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And then on the extreme, it'll say minus, let's say it says, let's go with Celsius. So it says 0 degrees limit Celsius, and then it says minus 10 degrees extreme, okay? And then on the other end, the comfort level, it says plus, let's say it says plus 10, okay? Well, what that means is that the bag, these 3 temperature ratings, so the comfort, it's a plus 10 degrees, but it can get down to minus 0 degrees, and that's at the limit. And then the extreme level is going to be a minus 10. So it's 10, 0, and minus 10, okay? Now, if you're shopping for a bag for your wife, or for a woman shopping for a bag for herself, you need to pay attention to the comfort level. Because the comfort level is basically your limit level. Okay, men and women have different the circulation of men and women are different, and so because of that, these bags are rated a little bit differently. Okay, so women tend to be much cooler than men will. Okay, even in the heat of the summer, women will tend to in the evening put a jacket on. Or a guy might be just in t-shirts and shorts or whatever. So. And because of that, the sling bags reflect that. So how do they reflect that? They reflect it in the comfort, limit, and the extreme level. So, and this is not 100% with all women. There are some of you ladies out there who can, who have much warmer bodies. Nothing wrong with that. I'm a very warm-bodied person myself. I have very warm. Matter of fact, my temperature level, my normal temperature level is a little bit higher than the normal. I already run with a higher temperature my body does. I wish it would burn off more fat, but that's just the way it is. So if you're going to buy a sling bag and you want a bag for the summer, then a man, of course, he can deal with a plus 10. Okay, a bag that's plus 10 degrees. Okay, because this is going to be enough for him. Where a woman will need a plus, maybe for a woman she'll need that 0. Okay, that 0 comfort level. Okay, so women pay attention to the comfort level. Men, you pay attention to the limit. Okay, so when you're buying sling bags, okay, so that's going to be where you're going to place yourself. So a woman may need to be a bag that's a little bit warmer than a man will. Okay, so where a guy can get off with a 0 degree limit, a woman will need a minus 10 degree limit sling bag, if you understand that. So when you're looking at your bag, nowadays, they're either on the inside of the opening. You open the bag up, it's on the inside, or it's at the foot of the bag. Depends on the company and how they do it. Like I said, not all companies do it. I'm looking at my bags. Corinthia says nothing about it on their bags from the ones I have. I have an Yongeluk, and my Yongeluk, he came in this bag here. This is a company. It's a Norwegian company that was purchased by Mammut some years ago, and they don't have a temperature rating inside them either. Okay, and of course the U.S. military sling bag, it has a temperature rating on it, but it's at the outside, inside the directions, and of course it comes with a, you got to take a course in English just to read that damn thing. But there are lots of brands out there, but if you always can go online and look for this information also. I'm actually online right now. I'm looking at just different sling bags, and you have Mammut with the minus 18 degrees protection. That's a 470 franc bag. It's a polyester bag. It's not a sling bag. You're going to pay more for lighter weight, better material, and a better comfort temperature rating. So you're going to pay more money for that. So that's what you do. So first you need to determine what activity you're going to be doing with the sleeping bag, whether it's going to be ultra lightweight hiking or just a weekend hike or just car hiking, or you're going to go up to a chalet, or you're going to go to your camping lodge, or just a fixed place, going to be tent camping, bash camping, or you're going to be sleeping under the stars. You have to look at all these things when you're deciding on what kind of sleeping bag you're going to need, okay? Then you need to look at your body, your physique, what can you get into? Don't be afraid to go to a camping store and say, hey, can I get in it? Can I try it? If they say no, you find another camping store, okay? You take your shoes off, and get inside that bag, okay? And feel how, because remember this right here, when you get inside that bag, the bottom's going to compact, okay? It's going to compact. And that's going to lead us up to another part of this video, and that is going to be sleeping mats. Okay, and what we're going to do. But anyway, so your body's going to compact, so it's important that you get inside that bag. You make sure you got enough room in there. I don't like tight-fitting sleeping bags because those tight-fitting sleeping bags, they're hard to get in, hard to get out. You can't reach the zippers, Also, placement of zipper, I'm not so keen on having a zipper right here under my chin because it catches my beard, just kind of like that. I prefer to have an offset zipper. And if you buy 2 sleeping bags to sleep in, like for the winter, you want a double sleeping bag system, make sure those now, the U.S. Army didn't follow this, but everybody else did. Make sure those zippers are offset. You might want to have a zipper on one side on the inside bag and the outside bag on the other side. That way, when you get inside of it, you have zippers and this is a reference to the type of baffling, this kind of stuff. Look inside. Make sure that you have, if you're going to really cold weather, you want it to be able to open it, be able to close that bag in around your neck, around your shoulders and stuff. So you look and then around the zippers. If the zipper's there, you'll make sure it's got a good sandwich between the zipper is here, and the upper baffling and lower baffling for the closures. So make sure that's there. If not, air's just going to go right through, okay? And you're going to be cold. You have cold spots. So I tend to sleep very warm, but I do have a tendency. I also, will do that. Now, mummy sleeping bags you put over your head. This is all nice and fine, and you need to be able to do that. But yeah. Now let's talk about what you're going to wear when you're sleeping. Okay, a lot of people say, "Well, you sleep naked, you'll be much warmer." That's fine. But what I will tend to do is say, "Listen, leave your underwear on, leave a t-shirt on, synthetic." Put some gloves on. We're talking about cold weather. If you have long underwear, that's fine too for cold weather also. And put some socks on, gloves on, and put a little balaclava or a little watch cap on, that kind of stuff. This is going to help you temperature wise. Okay. The old U.S. Army mountain rucksacks used to come with a sleeping shirt, and they were a little 3/4. We lived in those things. We all got our hands on them, and we lived in them. That was our first polypropylene. It was just synthetic. It was nothing, but it kept you warmer than having nothing. So we tended to live in those shirts. The Army allowed us to wear them, so we slept in them. They were green. But it's nice to have something. I mean, I've actually slept in situations where it was so cold that I slept with my jacket even on, and the hood on. So I've been in some pretty cold places, and I've slept almost completely dressed before. In the Army, you tend to you sleep dressed. I mean, you even leave your boots on. I mean, so what you'll do is you'll change out your socks, this kind of stuff, take a little bath if you can, and then redress, get back into it. It all depends on a very famous saying that we had in the Army: terrain dictates. So it depends on where you're at, high altitude, low altitude, which of the climates you're in, this kind of stuff. Climate also, people talk about that when it comes to sleeping bags. 3-season sleeping bag, 4-season sleeping bag, this kind of stuff. 3-season sleeping bag, yeah. 4-season sleeping bag. Unless you're going to like some extremely cold places, I don't think you necessarily need a 4th-season sleeping bag. You can make a lot do with, like I said, a good winter bag that's lightweight with a summer bag you can throw inside of it, and you can sleep that way. I have slept at freezing temperatures with 2 mountain sleeping bags before in the Army even, and I slept very warm, okay? So this has happened, and that was only by chance. This was one of my guys, I asked him to leave the sleeping bag. He was going in, leave the sleeping bag. We went from a live fire range to a on hold because of ice hazards at Fort Bragg. So we basically sent all the soldiers in, the NCOs, we stayed there overnight, and we slept under our ponchos And I asked one of my guys, listen, let's leave your sling bag here so I can use it also. So I did. And I slept very warm that night and slept very cozy also. But anyway, so let's talk about what when you're going to use your sling bag, you need to put it off the ground. You need to get it off the ground. And one of the things I do is I use a Tyvek sheet, a ground sheet. You can use lots of different types of stuff, but I like that because it's super lightweight and I can lay it out. I've got a over 2 meter one, so it's much longer than I am, a good bit wider. I lay it out, and then I will put on top of it. I'll clean up pretty much the ground underneath of it unless there's a good level of leaves, but I'll get like any rocks or sticks out. I'll get the leaves going, put that on it. Everything I can do to get away from the ground, and then I'll put my sleeping pad or mat or whatever on top of that. And then I'll put and that's sort of like a mattress. Now, a lot of people in the wintertime, if you're using a mattress, this kind of stuff, I'll actually double up in the wintertime. I'll bring my foam mattress and thermarest mattress, and I have another thermarest mattress, this one right here, which I can never fold it back up to get it back in the bag correctly. And this is an air mattress that I'll fold. But there are actually also air mattresses that have down in them, or they have a insulation inside of it. So when you air it up, the insulation also what happens, because it takes you to warm it. The ground's going to be cold. Cold air is going to be seeping up along with moisture, and people who sleep against that, they're going to be cold no matter what. Okay, I've got loads of examples, people I've gone camping with, and so the minimum you can do is get some kind of barrier between you and the ground, okay? And the best thing is like a small air mattress or a foam mattress, okay, something like that. Get that barrier between you and the ground, because that's where you're going to catch a lot of the cold from, okay? Even if you're sleeping in a tent, okay, sure, the area inside your tent is going to be warmed up a bit, but that barrier from the ground is going to be cold, it's going to be humid, and it's all going to come right up into your back and this kind of stuff, and you're not going to sleep very comfortably at night. And for me, at my age, comfort is very important when it comes to sleep. I've done all the roughing it. I don't need to rough it anymore. I can still do it, but I just prefer not to. So I'll spend a little bit more time making sure I have a good sleeping bag, a good ground mat, this kind of stuff, so I can get the maximum amount of comfort I can with what I have. Okay, so, and I suggest you do that too, because it'll save your back, and it'll make your outing a much more pleasurable outing. Unless you're out there having to suffer, it's a completely different ballgame. And if you don't have any of this kind of stuff, you can also cut down spruce branches. You can loft up a big pile of leaves, this kind of stuff, to try to get you away from that ground. You can do all this stuff. I've been winter camping where I didn't have I had a basha with me, and I just sort of put it up in an angle to keep the snow from coming on me. But I basically slept on a tree, but I put a lot of spruce branches on the ground, made a really good thick level when I laid on it. And then I laid down on it my foam mattress, and then I slept on top of that. So and I slept comfortably. I didn't have a problem. So that's another thing that you have to be aware of. Okay, there are a lot of things that are going to affect your sleeping comfort, and it's going to affect the temperature around you. Okay, and like I said, that's whether you're sleeping in a tent, outside of a tent, in a chalet, this kind of stuff. I've slept inside of tents, just on the mat. And I remember one time we were in National Training Center, NTC, when I was in the 80th Airborne Division, and we'd gone out there to the live fire, and then at the end of the live fire, we came back in, and then I think we did a jump the next day, and that night we had a general purpose GP medium tent. We put a whole platoon inside that tent, so we're all sleeping balls to cheek, balls to ass. All of us were inside our sleeping bags, which we were able to bring with us, which was nice, because this was in December in California. It does get cold there, believe it or not, in that desert, and but managed to sleep warm. And we had a potbelly stove inside that sucker, man. We were just everything, but we managed to sleep okay. So you just make the best of what you got. We had our mountain sleeping bags, which were the old Army ones, but this was synthetic ones, thank goodness, not the down ones, which were really terrible. And so there you go. But Another thing, when you're sleeping next to the fire, this kind of stuff, be careful because sparks can fly out onto your sleeping bag, which can damage a really good, expensive sleeping bag. Like I said, we got one here, minus 18 degrees Celsius, $470, you know. So be aware of that, you know. You'll pay a lot of money for something, you know, and then another suggestion, this is before I close up, and that is before you go out and buy all this gear, make sure you want to do this, okay? Because the investment is good, but you have to be able to invest in something you're going to be doing for long term. Because afterwards, you're not going to be able to sell that sleeping bag for $470. You'd be lucky if you get $100 for it. Because no one's going to want to going to buy a bag for a high price that you've been in at least one time. Just not going to do it. And when it comes to washing sleeping bags, there are instructions for how to wash them. I myself do not do it. I just turn them inside out. I'll put them exposed to the sun for half a day. And that usually kills off everything there is. If there's any kind of dirt on it, I'll brush it off with a soft brush. Let it dry first, and I'll brush it off. And then I'll take like maybe a washcloth with some soap, some soft detergent, and I can wash off certain areas of it if it's really grimy, and like the footbed, this kind of stuff, where your neck and this kind of stuff. You can do this, but I don't like washing bags. I don't wash jackets either, because they tend to lose a lot of their protective ability once you've washed them. And we're talking about percentages. We're talking about 10%, 12%, 15%, if not more. So be aware of that, okay? Remember, these companies, they're going to want you to buy another sling bag from them. So be aware of that. I have always tried to, with my clientele, I've always been honest with them, and always tried to help them to the maximum to find exactly what they need. And if they don't need a 470 franc sleeping bag or dollar sleeping bag, then why try to sell them something they don't need? Because they're going to remember that, okay? And if you save them on that, they're going to remember that also. So anyway, listen, I hope you have gotten some from this. If you have any questions about sleeping bags, please leave them below. I'm here to answer, okay? If you have any comments, positive or negative, please let me know. I'm always learning something new, and I always enjoy learning new things. Before we leave, real quick, storing sleeping bags. If you have a down sleeping bag, get yourself a mesh bag, or get yourself a really big sleeping bag pillow cover. Fold it up like this, sort of 3 in 3s. Slide it inside there and put it somewhere where it's going to have air getting around it, either under your bed or inside of a closet somewhere. You don't want to compact them too much, but give it its own shelf and let it have that loftiness to it. And then when you get ready to use it, then you could stuff it in. I don't suggest folding up sleeping bags, because what you're doing is you're folding them on the same line every time, and this plastic, it's going to be bending. And what does plastic do when you bend it a whole lot? Even metal, it's going to break. So to keep that from happening, I just suggest you stuff your sleeping bag inside a stuff bag, a waterproof stuff bag. Save yourself some weight. Compress it to maximum when you want to carry it, and put it in your sleeping bag. And then after you've used it during the day, if you have some sunny weather, take it out, inside out, lay it on top of your tent or over some chairs or whatever you have there, over a branch. Let it air out during the day. That helps get it ready for the next day. Then you can throw it back inside your tent, or pack it up before you pack it up. You can let it air out a little bit. So that's going to save you when it comes to condensation, its abilities, kind of stuff. Just a really quick note. I remember being in Panama, we were using poncho liners, and we didn't have time to let our stuff air out. We were in the jungle. So you were constantly sticking your stuff back inside this waterproof bag, put it inside. And after a couple of days, everything inside the waterproof bag was wet also. So just to remember that, just a little bit. Anyway, so if you have any questions, please leave them below. Give me a thumbs up, give me a like. That all helps. Lets me know that someone's out there is listening to or watching my videos. And I want to thank you. And like I said, if you have any questions, please ask them below. I'm here to help. Anyway, thank you again. You have a good weekend, and God bless you. Goodbye.